Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you, sir. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, nice having you. What's your sober date?
My sober date is Mother's Day 2019.
So what day is that?
That would be May, I believe, the 12th. Mother's Day switches on each one of them. I remember it was Mother's Day. I don't do meetings. I have and all that. So I don't know. I know it was Mother's Day 2019. So that whatever the date was, I think that's anywhere from the 12th to the 19th, something like that.
What was the reason you decided, on May 12th of 2019 that you decided to get sober?
I would really love to say that it was because, Mother's Day and all that. That just happened to be the day. Um, Bro, I had hit uh, uh, in 2014. I had to leave a 23-year marriage with two children. I couldn't get off heroin. I couldn't stop drinking. I mean, it had me, dude. I had accepted the fact that I'm dying from it, right? So I go into a rehab, and they keep me there 4 months. I was on 120 milligrams of methadone a day. Now they tried pulling me right off. Well, I was also alcohol and benzos, and I went into seizures. So I was in ICU for like almost 24 hours. Okay. They keep me there 4 months. 4 months. I didn't get out till the beginning of March. Um, they took me down 10 milligrams a week on methadone. After they had taken me off of it, I went into seizures. I went back. The doctor put me back on 80 a day, 80 milligrams. So they take that and they take me all the way down to 5 and jump off. And that was rough because like in the clinics, they'll take you down 5, maybe a
Five
month.
milligrams. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like a month. And these cats didn't have that time, man. So they put me on. It was a state rehab, man. I, I know I still owe money for it, but but so I get all the way down. I go through that and still jumping off at 5 sucked. Man, the sleep, I didn't know the inside of my hair could hurt, bro. It sucked. It did. But here's the addict thinking, man. I'd been on methadone for 4.5 years going to the clinics. Okay, that's an opiate blocker. I knew that the next time I did a shot of heroin, I'm gonna feel the full thing. Within I left there in March. They took me back in for detox because I hadn't been gone long enough. I'd been gone 28 days and showed back up there just a mess, dude. So they kept me there 5 days and then had to kick me out again. In 23 days, I was back. I knew I was dying, man. There was just no way out of it. Now you'd think that'd be bad enough. I get out of there and I end up back. That's in a town called Dodge City. All right. It's about 3 hours. I live in Wichita. It's a little more like a city. Someday it'll be a city when it grows up. So I come back to Wichita just knowing, I'm staying in a house that's got no electricity. It's just a trap house, dude. No electricity, no water, anything like that. And I'm pretty well signing off. I know this is how I'm going. And the day I came back to Wichita, the cat that I was staying with was involved with the church. This pastor has me come up and first he lets me do maintenance work around there and I can use their showers and have some food. Then he moves me into the basement. Now this is a huge, like it's half a city block for the church. There's 4 churches in it. Only one pastor knows that I'm there. I'm sleeping in offices on air mattresses and stuff, man, trying to avoid the people. I was in there for 6 months. That man let me, I still don't do church, but that's where I found that I do believe and that me and Jesus are right. That's not, no, you don't have to come to that conclusion. You say that's whatever you find, but I don't do church. I'm not what they call the Christian model thing. Nothing like that. I
Did you
don't,
grow up in Wichita?
no, man, I was born in Dodge City. My mother and I moved out to the Bay Area when I was very young, came back.
Where,
I grew
where's
up.
Dodge City at?
It's in Kansas. I'm sorry. It's about 3 hours west of Wichita. If you ever watch Boot Hill or any Gunsmoke, any of those, Dodge City, it's an old Wild West town.
Okay.
So yeah, tourist industry there, but I had to leave there. Um, I just didn't think I was gonna make it. Sorry, getting shaky. Um, in '86, I robbed a pharmacy and got caught at that. And just me and Dodge City didn't. It was me. It wasn't Dodge. You know,
Well,
it was me. But I just knew too many people.
let's keep it backtracked for now. You grew up in Dodge City, and then you
Okay.
said you moved.
Yeah, yeah. I moved to Hawaii. I sold everything I had in '89. Moved to Hawaii. That lasted about 6 months. And then I had to come back and I moved to Wichita then.
But you
And
grew up. How long did you grow up in Dodge City for?
oh man, from about 4 years old until 22, 23.
Okay, and
So I spent a lot of time in Dodge. That's my roots. That's where I grew up, man.
what did you discover first, drugs or alcohol?
Oh, drugs,
How
drugs.
old were you?
I was, alcohol was around. My stepdad was, it was always around. All right. And I remember my first drink. I went in and I couldn't have been more than 6 years old. And I go into the fridge and I see a glass of pop in there and I grab it and I didn't, I didn't like the feel. I hated the taste. I hated all that. I didn't like alcohol. It was an accident. I didn't mean to get it. But when I was 12 years old, that would have been 1976. I I guess I don't know if I was trying to be cool or what, because I hadn't done drugs yet. I hadn't done any drugs yet, but I took a handful of pills to school to look like I was selling, and that's how I'm making. I don't know. It just seemed cool to me then. You know, I take it. Well, this one kid ends up almost dying because he got some from me, and so that was my first encounter with drugs, and it was horrible. For some reason, bro, I knew like I was gonna be that. I knew I was in the drug life. I knew it, man, and I don't know why. There's trauma and abuse in early childhood, stuff like that. Maybe that's what clicked it off. I don't know, but
Was
I
it
knew.
like
So,
abuse, like getting hit?
oh yeah, 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 and there was sexual, there was molestation happened once. A stranger, not a family member, um, and then abuse. I was actually 7 years old, and I left my mother's house because with my stepdad, that's where the abuse came from. And I moved in with my grandparents, and when I was 11, they adopted me, gave me their last name.
And you said it was a stranger?
Yeah, yeah.
How did that happen?
We were I was 13. We had snuck out of the house. We met up, me and a couple guys. One of our friends was 16. He had a license. We're out driving. We're on this backcountry road, and there's a little party. These lights flash, and we pull in. Well, it was a friend of ours that's my age, 13 or 14, some old dude. And they're out there talking, and this guy's telling us oh man, I got some beer over here, da da da. He starts talking to us. I guess it was the mistake of saying something about my stepdad. And he goes, "Oh, I want to talk to you. Come with me to get this beer. I want to talk to you." We drive around, we end up back on this road, and he does what he does, and had the gun out. If I tell my friends, if I say anything, all that, trying to tell me this is how I need to take your pulse. You're getting too excited, and he reaches down my pants, and then it just got fucked up.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sorry to hear that. I've heard about stuff like that. That's why I ask, and it does usually cause addiction.
it's between the abuse as a young man from the stepdad, and then with that, it was like perfect storm set up
Yeah.
waiting for it.
Yep.
You know, it was.
So so a year before that you were 12, and that's when you first like did you take any of the pills too?
No, didn't take one of them. Didn't take one of them, man. And it just so happened it was a luck thing, but I grabbed my grandpa's big Tylocks. They're these painkillers that are pretty strong from back in the day, I guess. I don't even know if they make them anymore. I got to stay away from painkillers myself. But I
And
took those, and the kid took them. He had to go to the hospital, and they had to do the charcoal. I guess I wasn't there. I was going to run away. As soon as I found out I was caught, I ran. I was going to just run away. I had nowhere to go. I was 12.
yeah.
That same school year where my adoption was finalized, I did have a therapist say that he thought there was a connection there. that the reason I started that life and felt and the adoption, I remember being happy about the adoption. They told me that way if they did that and changed my last name, and if something happened to them, I wouldn't have to go back to my mom and stepdad. I could go, they could, would go to one of my other uncles, stuff. And I was cool with that. I never wanted to see that man again.
Can I ask where your dad was in all this?
Yeah. I don't know. When we were living in San Francisco, from the time I was, right after I was born till 4, we were in San Francisco. My mother said that he just didn't show up. And so he was supposed to, the ship was back and she hadn't heard anything from him. Well, after she passed away and everybody passed away, some of my family got to talking to me. I had an uncle that when we were out there committed suicide, and our family was almost dysfunctionally tight. Like they couldn't hardly be away from each other 5 to 10 times a day. They're calling it was just really tight. So it turns out that my mom just kind of packed up me and the stuff and left. Now, then my dad, I met him when I was 16. That's the first time I remember meeting him. I was having problems and drugs, and I had run away twice. And so my parents, somebody got a hold of my dad, my real dad. And the first night we went out, he smoked a joint and had a beer with me. I was 16. So he was cool, but he
That's
just was never there. He was never.
I had a guy on my show. His name's Foster. If you want to go back and watch, his mom had 3 or 4 different stepdads, and he was abused both verbally and sexually by 2 different stepdads before he was even 10. And he didn't meet his real dad until he was 14. And the first time he met his dad, he showed him how to shoot meth. Like inject meth at 14. That was his encounter. He was like, here's a beer, here's a cigarette, and I'm going to show you what it's like to actually inject a needle. And, he never stood a chance.
I don't understand. My oldest is 37. My youngest is 27. Now my sons and I have smoked weed together, not when they were young.
Mm-hmm.
They're old enough. They want to do, there's not really, I was worried with them and addiction and being passed down. And it's always, they were in meetings when they were 5 and 6 years old. I tried all of it, dude. I tried meetings. I tried inpatient, outpatient. I just couldn't, but they knew the whole just for today saying by the time they were 2nd grade, man. They said in meetings, I could bring them in.
Yeah.
So
let's go back to you're 13 years old. You kept running away. When did you actually discover drugs? Like you're ingesting the drugs and not just selling them?
Okay. When I was 1978, I was 14. Okay. I tried it. I take that back. When I was 13, and it was after I had got caught at 12 for the pills and stuff, a friend of mine, we went to the Halloween movies, right? So there's like 4 movies, you're there for hours. He had a joint from his big brother, and we went out in the alley and we smoked that. I don't remember much but the smell and the taste. I'm sure it was probably ragweed or something, man.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. But when I was 14, that's when I started my daily. Anything I could get. They always sold those little cross tops and pink footballs and pink hearts and da-da-da. They were caffeine pills, but we called them speed. I was 15 the first time I actually ran into real cocaine. And that's just.
That I have arrived moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And my real arrived moment where I knew I was in trouble, I was 18. And I had been up for about a 3-day jag on cocaine, just showing up at my guy's house anytime I had 25 to 50 bucks, so I'm showing up, and he told me we're going to put an end to this. He goes back to back in a room somewhere, comes out, and he's got a syringe and it's full of black. I'd never shot anything that wasn't clear, man. And,
so you had been shooting coke by the time you were 18.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 It was right around then, probably 17 or so that I started. That I made the jump to, because I'd smoked it, I'd snorted it, did all that. And back when I started smoking, it wasn't crack, it was freebase,
Yeah.
which I did do crack. I'm no purist. It doesn't work that way. And as soon as he hit me with that, bro, all that anxiety, that cocaine, that's gone. I wasn't thinking. I knew I'd found it. That was the, angel lights from heaven come down. And I knew that. I
No, it's
knew that.
heroin.
Yeah. 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 I don't know why. I think I know why, man, because it stops everything. You're not thinking. I was in 86 when I did that pharmacy thing. I went through a whole mental health evaluation and they diagnosed me with borderline personality disorder, OCD, severe anxiety, depression and stuff. But it's the OCD, those intrusive thoughts that I still
Yeah.
struggle with that
Yeah,
because
so do I.
I won't go on antidepressants, bro. I
Yeah.
just, I just won't. It seems like for the people that really want to get off of antidepressants, this is just my opinion, my observation. You got a better chance of getting off heroin than you do getting off antidepressants. And it looks like a vicious withdrawal. It's a mental thing.
Yeah.
I was with a girl for 5 years. She was bipolar, and man, those meds, trying to dial that in makes for, so I
Well,
just don't, man.
it's hard, man. I'm bipolar too. And it's nobody, there's no like secret medication that's going to stable you out with bipolar. It's a lot of trial and error.
Trial and error.
Bipolar is such a spectrum that like my wife has it and I have it, and we're both on different medications for it. And we're both on working medications that where it's helping, but
Okay.
still it's not a perfect science to where they're like, okay, you have bipolar, so you're going to take this and you're going to feel better. No, that's not how that shit works.
It doesn't
It's
work like that.
trial and error. And luckily I found my right dosage on what works for me, because I'm also OCD and deal with depression, and my OCD is my thoughts. It's not like cleaning. People think OCD is cleaning shit all the time, like making
In
it.
a perfect order on a shelf or something. No,
Yeah,
man, mine is
no,
that.
it's
It's,
the intrusive thoughts.
and horrible thoughts. My granddaughter will come up to me and do something really cute and all that, and I tear up because all of a sudden this catastrophe in my mind takes whatever, someday this is just going to be a memory. Oh my God, what if, and I don't even, there's no way to really explain it. It's just they're there and you're almost in tears.
Yep.
And it just won't stop. And then laying down at night, that's the hard one. Me and sleep don't, I don't have good sleep.
I have chronic insomnia myself. And a lot of that insomnia is the over intrusive thoughts from the OCD,
Yep.
playing back the tape of what happened today, trying to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow. Am
Oh
I
yeah.
going to have a bad day tomorrow or a good day? And you're already setting yourself for failure because you're so worried about what's going to happen the next day.
Or having to get sleep because, okay, sometimes I deliver puppies around the country for people. Sometimes my wife has, they sell Havanese. Okay. So if I've got a flight and I need, I got to get up early, whatever, I'm not going to sleep. Just knowing that I have to get to sleep, I'm not going to get to sleep. And I play it. Like minute by minute. I'm going to have to get up. I'm going to have to go in here. Oh man, when I get to the luggage part, I'm going to have to, and what if this happens? And what if that? And it just doesn't stop, man. It doesn't. I have THC at night before I go to sleep. That's what gets me to sleep. I don't smoke during the day. I don't like going around high. But the problem is sometimes weed or even the Delta 8s, the edibles, sometimes they'll take you worse in that direction. It depends on your strain, and it depends, I guess,
Yep.
on all. Oh man, because
Yeah.
me and weed used to be best friends, bro. And we can't even, we barely hang out now, like I said, just to try and get to sleep.
Yeah, my wife couldn't smoke sativa at night because it would take over and be really bad for her. And me, on the other hand, I could smoke sativa at night because that head high would actually help me to lay down and calm down. But she was the opposite, where
Yeah.
she could only smoke indica at night. And for me, it was the opposite. So and I quit weed April 1st after 25 years of smoking. And so, and my wife just quit October 1st.
Right on.
So we're both, you know, weed free now, which is, you know, it's been tough. But at the same time, like you said, we're trying not to be on like mind altering, you know, drugs.
And that's my deal. Bro, I'd love to be able to come back and tell you that last time I cleaned up, that there was some magic little something I did, like you say, you know, a magic pill or something. It wasn't rehab. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. Something, it just lifted. Bro, that sounds so cliche and I hate to even say it, but it just was gone. I used to not be able to say the word heroin without that stomach, oh, you know, and heartbeat increase and all that. And like I said, I wish there's some way I could tell you I did it, but it just, so I don't have that desire for, you know, to stay baked. I used to, from the time I got up till the time I went to sleep, man, I had a buzz on, you
Yep.
know, that was just kind of the only time I would lay off that is when I got in, because I'm a binger. Okay. Some binges last years. Some were just a little bit. So like if I got a bunch of pills, or I did meth for the last year of my addiction, because I found that it's always a dance with heroin. Can I do it 3 days in a row with no withdrawal? You know, can I do it 5 days? Nope. Okay, withdrawal. Well, I found that a big shot of meth, and you're up for about 3 days, when you come down, you don't feel your withdrawals through. You know, I didn't feel it. So that's how I discovered that. I still don't really like having to be awake for all that. You know, I always drank for oblivion. I always used for oblivion, trying to
Yeah.
get that where I just don't think.
Trying to chase that initial high. Because
Yeah.
I
First,
know, yep. When I first started opiates, it was October of 2008. And, you know, I started drinking at 11. And when I was 22, it's lost its luster. And I was looking for something else to kind of like do every day besides drink, because I was drinking daily by that time.
yep.
And it just stopped working. And I tried, you know, like ecstasy, I tried acid, I tried mushrooms. I loved acid. I loved the feeling acid produced. But the
Yeah.
problem with acid is it lasts 18 hours, and then you need 12 hours to like recuperate.
To recoup, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that wasn't something I could do every day. So acid was out. And then I found perk 10s, and I popped
Uh,
2 of them, and I was off to the races. I have found what I've been looking for. I found my new, yeah.
yeah, dude, we had people talk about, you know, they'll take like perk 10s, or they'll take, you know, hydros or any of that Norcos, and it knocks, dude. And I'm not exaggerating, I'm not adding numbers, but I would take 10 of the 10s, take them at once, because I would already been on heroin. I was doing all that, so I was trying to get that. Bro, I would be up vacuuming the house. I'm doing the laundry. I'm just like buzzing around like I'm methed up or something, man. And that's how the pills hit me. Heroin hit me, so it knocked me out. It knocked me
Yeah.
down. But the pills, oh, dude, I love that. Like you said,
Yeah.
you found it. You found it.
Yeah, I was wide awake. My thoughts weren't taking over though. I
Yep.
used to, my last 2 years of my pill addiction, I would be driving 2 hours to go get pills and then 2 hours back. And I
Yeah.
was doing that 4 or 5 times a week. And I would be withdrawing in Philadelphia in the traffic. I'd be withdrawing, throwing up into a bag. And I would finally get my pills, and I'd be driving back home, and I would snort 4 right away and then be driving on the highway like it was no big deal. Like most people, they do 5 milligrams and they're out cold. With me, I just did 120 milligrams, and I'm like good to go. I'm wide awake.
Wow.
I'm safer on. I'm not throwing up while I'm driving. I'm alert. I'm driving safely. Like no, the pills shouldn't affect you that way.
I think there was in the last time I was in rehab, this one of the counselors told me, he calls it the Aussie gene. There's a gene that's in us, man, that for some people you can just basically be a garbage disposal for drugs, and somehow you live through it, dude. I wasn't exaggerating, like 10 to 15, you know, Lortabs, whatever. I take the Xanax. I didn't do this with the bars, but like in the little footballs, the purple ones, I'd eat 10 to 15 of those at a
Yeah.
time, man. They were a springboard. I did so much with benzos that like that was never towards the end, that was never my high I was chasing. It just was a springboard because I could eat like 10 Xanax. And if I drank, it didn't take near
Right.
as much. It didn't take near as much. But I
Yeah,
lose
and
days.
black
I
out.
lose days, blackout,
Yeah.
complete blackout.
Yeah, my relapse last summer was on Ativan, and
Yeah.
then I abused my Ativan, so then I manipulated my psychiatrist into giving me Valium, and then I abused my Valium. Then I find myself Googling, can you snort Valium? Oh, I can, and then I started snorting my Valium,
Yep.
and I went right back into my old habits of snorting pills, and maybe it's not, I'm not buying street drugs and I'm buying pharmaceuticals, but still I'm abusing the hell out of them.
Oh yeah.
And so I've been clean off benzos since I quit weed and benzos on the same day, and
Wow.
I went cold turkey. It sucked. I took a month off of work,
Yeah.
and I used FMLA and short-term disability, and I took a month off of work, and that helped getting through the withdrawals from both, because you don't have physical withdrawals from weed, but you definitely have mental
Yeah.
withdrawals.
Yeah, you do. And with me, it'll hit like when I was smoking a lot, and then when I would stop, I'd be really emotional, dude. Like I can
Yeah.
cry over about anything, just about anything. I can cry, with weed. I couldn't sleep, but I don't. Me and sleep, that's still a tricky game with me, man. Some days, some nights are good, some nights just suck. But it's like that was my deal with methadone, man. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good plan to start with because not everybody can take a month off or 2 weeks off or whatever trying to get through withdrawal. So you just go into the clinic, you get it, and you don't feel withdrawal. Now you're on what they have. The problem was number one, I started figuring out I would get the syrup and you pull up about 1 unit of water, 9 units of methadone, you shoot it. That's how I started doing my methadone because you would get take homes. You have to be good for a while. And my first year in the methadone clinic, I was doing exactly what they said. I was doing it. I was doing it right. I was hitting the groups. It was all that. And that's when I got up to if I would walk in and say I had a craving, man, I really had a hard, I had a dream last night. They'll up your dose. They would up my dose. I can't speak for every clinic out there. They up your dose. That's how I got up to 120. They start you at 30. And that first day, you're supposed to be in withdrawal when you go in for the initial interview. They want you to go 24 hours without. I went 12 hours without. I was in withdrawal. I went in for the interview, and the interview was like 2.5 to 3 hours. So I'm sick, man. And by the time I did get that 30 milligrams, dude, I felt the relief. I'm like, this is it. This is it, man. I can be on it because one of the counselors, I was asking her how long, before she goes, some people that have been chronic like you have, she goes, they take it every day for the rest of their life. I was cool with that. And then, bro, you can't, once I started failing UAs, now your take homes are gone. You got to be there every morning. You got to go in. Okay, you try. If you want to, we went to Hawaii once. I took my family over there. That was at the end of that first year. And luckily, I had been doing good. So the state gave me my take home. But anytime you would have to find a clinic and guest dose and go in. So you can't even go out of town somewhere. Small towns, they're out. You can't go to any small towns. They don't have methadone clinics. You have to be able to find the methadone clinic if I just wanted to go on vacation with my family. And then I start screwing up. And as soon as they catch any benzos in your UA, they're taking you down. They will do what they call administrative detox, and it sucks. So I just jump over. I hit 3 different clinics here before I finally went through them all. And that's when I ended up going into Dodge City, and I haven't been on methadone since then.
Yeah, I
I
think methadone.
won't go back on. I won't go back on that.
Yeah, I think methadone and Suboxone are good to get you initially off the drug, but
Initial,
I feel like it shouldn't be a long-term solution.
right? And they should start the titration. I think they should start talking to you about it as soon as you find your dose. Like, what can I make it? I need enough to get through 24 hours, right? And you're only doing one dose. It doesn't take long to find that. I think they should start talking to you about getting a plan for titration then. So
Yeah,
it's
I
not,
agree.
it was rough. And that, if I hadn't have gone to that rehab for the 4 months and they took me down 10 a week, I really don't believe I would have got off of it. It was
Yeah.
just brutal. It was brutal, man.
So take me back to 1986 and you robbed a pharmacy.
That was an impulsive, bro. Okay. I've played in bands almost all my adult life. Um, we were going through a booking agent. We're playing 5 nights a week. We're out on the road. It's good. Well, I decide I want to maybe go out to California, live out there. I've got a girl I've been dating. We're going to get married. And I'm like, I know how I can make some money real quick. That's the stupidest thing. So I crawl up on the roof and I go in through the heating vents and I get it. And then by the time I came out the back door, there were the cops. I had done a shot, or I did a dose while I was in there because I was kind of sick. Um,
You
it
did a
was
dose of what?
the liquid dilaudid.
Okay.
I did a dose of that just because it hit immediately almost, and I'm calmed down, and then I go out that. I had to find a back door to get out because I came in through the ceiling. Well, I couldn't get back up to the ceiling. At one point, the grate that I was standing on fell, and I fell down into the pharmacy, so I can't fall out. I got to
Yeah.
find a way out, and they had it locked up. By the time I figure out how to get out of there, out of that back door, I come out and there's a police car right there. I take off running, man. No, I didn't last. I didn't laugh. You see these guys that are police, the donut guys, and they're kind of heavier. What? No, I had a fucking track star, dude. This guy was on me. He was on me.
And plus you were on the loaded.
Yeah. So how fast am I really running?
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah, Dilaudid's a hell of a drug too.
Oh.
A
Yeah.
buddy of
Yep.
mine, a buddy of mine was prescribed 180 perk 30s of oxycodone a month by going to a shady doctor.
Yeah.
And the doctor eventually was like, "Hey, they're coming down on me for over prescribing. I got to drop you down to 120. But to make up for those 60 I'm taking you off, I'm going to give you 60 8 milligram Dilaudid to make up for it."
What a nice guy.
Yeah, so he'd
But,
walk out of there with 2 scripts, one
yeah,
for a 68 milligram Dilaudid and one for 120 oxy 30s.
man. It used to be like that, bro. And I imagine there's still pill doctors out there. At one point, I had got into the Florida thing, and you call them up. They have a doctor that will talk to you on the phone. You give them your little bullshit symptoms, and they'll prescribe you 90 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. And it comes in the mail in like 2 days. Yeah, it costs a little bit.
No,
But
that's how it was. I had a shady doctor too that I went to back in 2012 to 2014.
yeah.
And it was the first time I went there, I sat down with the doctor and he's like, "Well, what do you want?" And I was like, 120 30 milligram oxycodone and 120 2 milligrams Xanax. Writes out the script. All right, we'll see you in 28 days. Make sure you pay them on your way out.
Yeah.
$150 cash every month.
Yep.
And they did not take insurance. And since I didn't have insurance, those pills were costing me out of pocket, sometimes $200 to fill the script. But I'm getting $2,000 worth of pills on the street.
Exactly. You're going, what is it? Is it up to $1 a milligram yet? It used to be 50
Yeah.
cents a milligram.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it's back then in like 2012, it was $30 for a pill. So, and I would get them for $20-$25
Yeah.
because I knew people that would sell them bulk. So I would usually get people that were buying 3 or 4, and I would collect everybody's money and I would go buy them in bulk, and then I would get a bunch of them for free because
Yeah.
of overcharging them
Yeah.
and seeing my guy for way cheaper.
Yeah, bro. And at the methadone clinic, it's that cost thing. a lot of people were in there for like a pain management thing that doctors had got them. There were heroin addicts, yeah, and there was quite a few, but a lot of people were coming in for pills. And when they get there, they find out they can get a, you know, $20 shot of heroin, and that's going to last you, especially when you first start. That's going to last you your day, man. They, you know, because you're used to paying $30 for one pill. That's going to get me through maybe part of the day, maybe. But
Yeah.
then you find out how much cheaper it is. There was a lot of people that fell because of that. You know, they come in, they're trying to get off, and they weren't really done with doing the dope, but the money was just too much. They couldn't come up with it. You can't steal enough. You can't boost enough stuff to get it, man. And then they find that it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah. So you said you were in a band. What did you play?
I'm front man, singer and guitar player.
Okay.
Singer and guitar player, man. That's what I do now for my money. The mental, bro, the mental health stuff is a struggle, and sometimes I feel almost trapped here, trying to get out. I'll leave, and then it's my head spinning. My head spinning. I need to get back to my chair. I need to get back and sit, click on whatever, you know. It still messes with me, but that's what I do. I go down and I play the farm and art markets. I play coffee shops, and I just do it by myself. That way, if I, you know, cancel a gig, nobody's getting really tripped out. It's just me.
Yeah. I mean, that's one way to make a living.
It's I don't do clubs very often because that's just not a healthy place for me to be. But during the winter months, sometimes I have to, and you're getting $300 for a 3 hour set. You know, I can, if it wasn't for my family that took me back in, they talk about restoration and God and everything. Bro, what I lost in 2014, I have got back tenfold. I have my granddaughters. I just had a grandson born last week.
Yeah.
Just had my grandson. I'll send you a pic. But I'm back in the home. I'm back, and I'm better than I was. You know, because you're only so good a parent when you're fucking up and trying to find that shot, or you nodding out in the middle of your, you know, supper. My son actually had to reach over and pull my head out of a plate of spaghetti. I had dipped down. He goes, I didn't want to have to tell him that my dad drowned in spaghetti, so I picked you up. They shouldn't be, you know, 12 and 13 years old, knowing that if they come in and find me unconscious, get some ice and try to get it at least on his nuts or up his ass to try to bring him back. My kids knew that, and they shouldn't. My granddaughters will never learn that from me. I'm not saying they won't fight, you know, whatever, but it's just my kids. But you know what, dude? They're very respectable young men. They're not dope heads. They're not. One of them is a self business. One of them has a job that's working in. It's a really good job, man. He's doing maintenance and stuff in these apartments. He does great. He's a great daddy with his kids. The one that just had the baby last week, man, he's that daddy, you know. And so, yeah, I wasn't constantly fucked up around him. Like I said, I binge and stuff, and then I get, you know, 3 months, 6 months clean, or, you know, at one point I had 2 years clean and threw it out for some new morphone. That
For
I
what?
morphine. It was I got a bottle from a I was back in Dodge City. I had gone back for my son's birthday. I took him back so he could see my biological mom, and because they were good grandparents. And my, you know, my stepdad was there too. So I'm going out of this quick trip and I see one of my guys from way back when, after I'd left, and I'd been off for 2 years, bro. And this guy walks up and he does the handshake and he puts this little vial in my hand. He's like, bro, you got to check this out. I got a shit ton of this. And it was spelled Numorphone, new morphone. And it was morphine. And dude, you could muscle that. I didn't have to find a vein. You just right into the muscle. It doesn't hit you the rush, but I wasn't trying that. I it was impulsive. Just there it was. Oh, cool, man. You got a rig? Yeah. Psh, game on. I go into the bathroom with a quick trip, lock the stall. I just have to pull it up and load it. I don't have to find a vein or anything. I just pop it in the muscle. I get a lot. there's been a lot of really bad impulse decisions. You know, the pharmacy, when I was running away, the different, you know, I'd have my time clean and then come back to just slam back again. Bro, I wasn't even a heavy drinker until I was 28 years old. And my grandparents, my parents, my father passed away. 2 months later, my second wife left, which devastated me. And then 4 months later, my grandmother died. I lost them all three in their dude. And I found that alcohol, I could sleep. I could feel the emotion that I was the most comfortable with, and that was anger. I didn't have to feel all that other, you know, and I stayed drunk for about 4.5 years. And that's not an exaggeration. Every day from the time I get up. I did alcohol like I did weed. You cop that first buzz and then you just keep it going all day. Alcohol don't work like that, man. You know, sometimes by the time Price is Right was over, dude, I'm passed out. But I'll be back up for the young and the restless.
Yeah, because that's what kind of alcohol were you drinking?
Canadian Mist. That was my liquor. That or, you know, like Seagram's, anything like that. But honestly, I never drank alcohol for the taste. I drank it for effect.
Yeah.
So when I've been sick and broke, mouthwash is definitely on the menu. Hand sanitizer is on the menu. It's because I don't like the way any of it tastes. So it made that jump to mouthwash pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, if toilet paper was addictive, I wouldn't have an ass, bro. Whatever it is, if it's addictive and I do it, man, I'm gonna have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I
No, I know that. Yeah. I always say, I say this in NA all the time. I was addicted to the word more.
Yep. What
I'm
kind of
addicted
dope you want? I want more.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I
Oh
was
man,
addicted to.
especially with cocaine, dude. As soon as I do that first line, hit, shot, the only thing I'm thinking about is more cocaine.
Yep.
That's me. That's all I can think about, dude. There's never enough. And it's people talk about going out and doing the clubs. No, man, I want it. If we're sitting down to do coke, we're gonna chip away at this quarter ounce until we get, and then we're gonna go find more. We just chip away. You have your little syringe. Yeah, it was cocaine was my worst, and then crack. Shit,
Yeah. I've
that
heard.
went horrible, man. That was
I I had a guy on. This guy Larry. He was into freebasing coke in the '80s before crack
yep,
came around,
yep,
and he had quit coke in like 1988 before crack had really hit Massachusetts where he was living. So he was only freebasing coke when he got clean. But he was like, it was a totally different high to go from snorting coke to smoking coke.
yep, yep. Completely different. And then crack had that unbelievable come up, ears ringing and shit like that. But you come down just as fast, and it seemed like even more desperate for that next one, even
Yeah.
more than I was with cocaine. Crack it didn't go well.
When did you
I don't
discover
think I've
crack?
met anybody that said, I'm really glad I started that crack habit. It doesn't happen, man.
No, no. When did you discover crack? What year?
1988. And then I got away from it after a couple years. I got away from cocaine for quite a while just because I had heroin. But then in the last 2 years of my addiction, 2018 and 2019, when I was doing meth people seem to have crack too. So I was, and I just suck at trying to keep control on shit. I can't do it. I never seen any, this girl I was with, we would smoke and maybe there would be 2 rocks left. And she goes, well, let's go try to get some sleep, go play around in the bed and then we'll do the rest. No, there's
We
2
still,
left.
yeah,
There
there's
is
still
2
some
left.
left.
I can't. There are two cans of beer in the fridge. I can't go to bed. And beer ain't even my thing. It takes so much. Well, it did take so much since my last one. I found that my tolerance dropped. I could drink a half pint, dude, and I'm pathetic drunk. Pass out in the bed. for a long time, I could drink all day. And then all of a sudden it came back. It pulled that on me, man. And my tolerance dropped, which was helpful, but I knew it, man, I was getting close to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine what my tolerance is now. I haven't had a drink in over 5 years. Well,
Right.
I mean over 4 years. I'll have 5 years the end of February without a drink.
Right on. That's so
So
cool.
yeah, it's it's crazy to think about because I started drinking at 11 and I started drinking for the effect at 12.
Yeah.
And that's when I started, drinking on weekends and on weekdays here and there. I would steal liquor from my parents' basement,
Yep.
do a couple shots, go back into my room and be drunk or with the buzz on. And, because I'm 12 years old, what kind of tolerance could I have had at 12 years old?
Exactly. That
You know?
one shot is gonna, and you go back in and you put the headphones on and you just lay, and it seems like heaven.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
it really
And
does.
eventually I would sneak a bottle up to my room and just hide it in my room because my
Yep.
bedroom was in the attic and no one ever went up into the attic besides me. So, I would hide it in my room and, in my closet and shit like that. And just take it because I was bullied. I'm a bigger guy, so I was bullied a lot in school.
Yeah.
So if I ever had a bad day, I would come home and I would like, I'm gonna go do homework and lay down and also drink
And drink.
and
Yep.
feel better. And because I didn't have to worry about coming down, if I said I was going to bed, I didn't have to worry about coming down and smelling like liquor
Smelling like it or letting them see the effects on you somehow. Yeah.
and me stumbling in the hallway or some shit.
Yeah. And like I said,
I used to piss out my window. I used to open the screen and piss out my windows so I wouldn't have to go downstairs
I
and
don't
face
want
anything.
any contact. See this, my wife that I'm back with now, God, she could tell what I was on by the way I walked. Oh, you're drunk. Oh, you found some opiates. And she would call me. And dude, I did the typical addict thing. I lied my ass off. No, what do you mean? Which is one of the reasons I made the jump to mouthwash. She couldn't smell it. She goes, I don't know what's wrong, but you are fucked up on something. Well, my pee is minty fresh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've done, like I said, it's just I was just this addict waiting to happen, and I did it. I don't know how I made it, bro. I don't.
So what do you think the difference is in these last 5 years that has been keeping you still, clean and sober? If you're not a meetings person, you haven't been
Yep.
hitting meetings,
Nope.
so you don't have a sponsor,
Nope.
um,
Nope.
but you have a connection to your higher power.
Yes. Yes. And me and God talk several times a day, man. Just my prayers. Just I can't really sit here and say, okay, honestly, man, when I said that earlier about it, it was lifted. I really believe that, bro. Um, and I'm not one of these church because there's people in meetings that go to church too. God ain't keeping you off that. There's something that's got to happen. My second granddaughter was born. She is 5 years old. She'll be 6 next year. And I know that has something to do with it. There's nothing in my mind that has said here and goes, that's the reason. The reason is because I know where it's going to end up. If I decide to drink, I know where I'm going to end up, right there in that bed. And I'm going to be pathetic. No, I won't be in that bed. I'll be kicked out. I will be down on Broadway, man, doing the homeless Joe shuffle. And it's like, I know that it just doesn't feel like an option, dude. I don't want to sound like, oh, by the grace of God, but I think by the grace of God, there's, when I say lifted, dude, it's like I would think of that stuff all day long, every day, white knuckle trying to come off. That's when I was going to meetings. That's when I had sponsors. I was doing, 3 a day sometimes. And I don't know what the difference is this time. I wish I did, bro. I'd put it in a bottle, I'd sell it, but I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell, and not just for the money thing, to help people, because I know how how scary it is when you realize, man, I was 55 years old, 54 when I quit. And you start thinking, maybe I'm not going to be a rock star when I grow up. I don't think I can do this shit right. But then what do? You think you're so far gone into it that there's no coming back. And I, I, I wish I had the answer. I wish I could sit here and tell you how and why it doesn't sound appealing. Why? Because that was what I went to anytime anything would piss me off. Some kind of, dramatic moment in life. That's what I did.
Shit, sometimes you do it just to celebrate.
Just to celebrate. Exactly. My brain is set up on a reward system, bro.
Yep.
It's definitely set up on that. And by God, I deserve something for making it through that last hour. I don't know. I didn't really have to justify a lot. When they diagnosed me in 86, I really had a laugh. I used that information because then I could go to other doctors and I could get Valium. And I loved Valium. That was
Me
just, I
too.
wanted to keep it around.
No,
But I was
I
really,
didn't even need, once I discovered Valium, I didn't even need Xanax,
yeah,
like
yeah. I don't like Xanax, bro. Even
it's,
Klonopin does better for me than, because Xanax, I black out,
me too.
completely black, man. And I
Me
don't
too.
want to come to and, I'm in jail and I did some
Yeah.
shit, you
Valium
know?
actually gave me a sustainable high
Yeah,
where I felt something, and
dude.
it
And
was my escape.
on Xannies, I would be doing them and sitting in my chair, or whatever, wherever it's at. And I'd take 5 or 10 of them and an hour and a half later, I don't think I'm fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't think I am. And I get up and try to walk. Oh shit. But I don't feel it. So I take more.
Yep.
And it kind of got that way because I just ate so many of them, I think, and so much that, like I said, it made for a springboard. If I do some Xanax and then do a shot of heroin, that heroin's going to hit harder. If I do some Xanax and I start drinking some vodka, it's going to
It's
hit
a
hard.
wrap. It's a
Yeah.
wrap. You mix
Ain't
it,
no
you mix alcohol with Xanax. You are blacking out within minutes.
bro. And one of my last hard binges was Xanax and that UV cake alcohol of vodka. It tastes like cake, so you don't have that harsh vodka thing, but it's vodka. So I did that. I don't remember any of this, but apparently I walked down to this liquor store. Something happened between my house and the liquor store because I was bleeding out my face. 2 cuts right here. I get to the liquor store and apparently I was hitting people up in the parking lot for heroin. So the manager calls the police. The police get there and they were actually cool, I guess. I don't remember. I couldn't tell you a thing about this, but they took me to a psych ward. While I was in the psych ward, they kept me there for like, I think 8 hours, tried to get me. So, well, I had too much Xanax in me. You're not going to get me sobered up. And they finally let me call one of my friends, and I can't believe I knew his number. And he came and got me, checked me out, took me back to my house, and I went to bed. I woke up the next morning with a hospital band on, my face fucked up, and I don't think I've left the apartment. I don't remember any of that, bro. Nothing. I probably lipped off to somebody and they busted my face. I don't know. I have no clue. I don't remember the liquor store, the cops. I have one flash of memory of this lady in the hospital yelling at me because I was being a dick. That's all I have. That's completely blacked out, bro. That could have gone so many other ways and so bad that yeah, that was one of my last ones. I could not find my way home. I was 3 blocks away from my house and I could not find my fucking way home. That was a different binge, but that's how fucked up I'd get on that stuff, on the
Yeah.
vodka and the Xannies.
and it's fucked up because Xanax are prescribed so easily by
So
doctors.
easily, man.
And you
People die.
don't have to prove shit. You don't have to prove shit. All you have to say is I have bad anxiety. There's no like magic test that they're going to do that's going to find if you're lying about that or not.
Yeah. And
And
once I found out that doctors are playing a guessing game, you give them the right clues and they'll come to the right conclusion to write that script. Once I figured that out, it wasn't good. I could
that's
go in with a
what happened.
hangnail and come out with oxys, man.
That's what happened when my dad passed. You know, I knew that I could say to my psychiatrist that I was depressed and I was having anxiety and, you know, this, that, and the third, you know, I need something for this. And here's Ativan. And then I told him, once I told him in November or January, or no, it was December of last year. I was like, that Ativan's not working. It's just not working anymore. All right, we'll bump you up the volume. Let's start you off at 10 milligrams, which 10 milligrams is the max dose that you can get Valium.
What's the generic Ativan? Lorazepam?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have
Yeah.
That's where I got my wings. It's the first thing a doctor wrote me.
And diazepam is Valium. And what's fucked up is I started out in AA back in April. I started out going to AA and I was not feeling at home there. I couldn't talk about my pill addiction. I couldn't talk about weed. And I hadn't had a drink in over 4 years. So I wasn't like, you know, worried about drinking. And I was sharing one day and CVS sent me an alert. Hey, your diazepam's ready for refill. And I was sharing and I was like, you guys don't understand. I can pay $1 copay and be high for weeks. I can walk out of here, pay $1 and change, 4 quarters, and I can be high for weeks. I was like, we're not on the same page right now when it comes to your struggle versus my struggle. And that's when I decided to get into NA. And I do NA every day at noon. I do NA and then I do Gamblers Anonymous on the weekends. And you know, I haven't placed a bet in since July 13th, and I haven't touched Xanax, or not Xanax, but benzos or weed since April 1st. And so, but I work a solid program. I got sponsors, and you know, I'm doing the work. I have a therapist. I have my psychiatrist still. My wife and I, we're very open. We're both in recovery. So we're both very open about our struggles. And, you know, I do this podcast, man. And it helps me stay sober to talk to people like you because, you know, it makes me remember like it's not any better out there.
And it's not, bro. And people remember their bottom. Well, guess what? You can be at that bottom and you can dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get better going out there. As a matter of fact, I noticed my withdrawals were worse every time I went through them.
Yep.
I don't want to see what the next one would be. I don't want that. I'm a candy ass, dude. I don't want to be sick and hurt. And it's not worth that. It seemed like with heroin, every step I took walking down the street, every breath I took in between those steps, I was thinking about heroin. I'm either, how much do I have left? Where am I going to get this? What do I have to go steal? Where, you know, because we'd go boost shit and then there was different places in the city you can go and people will buy it. We'd go get orders sometimes, you know, if they had it. I've gone for children's clothes and, you know, come back and they'll give you a couple points for that. You know, it's like 50 cents on the dollar. It's about all they're giving, but it consumes me, completely consumes me. I don't, my music, all that goes away, man. I've been writing and doing all, that's another thing. I'm sitting here and I got 7 guitars in my house right now. I have 3 amplifiers. I have a mix. Bro, I would have none of that. As soon as I would have something, it went to the pawn shop. One of my songs I wrote is the first line in is about being at a pawn shop. It says, would you take this heart for a shot of dope? You know, and it just, that's how it was. Every minute of every day was filled with something to do with that. I was blessed to have a wife during that time. She's my 3rd wife. My first marriage was 6 months. My second marriage was 11 months. And we were together 23 years. I left for 5 and came back 5 years ago. And we're still together. But she has been an amazing mom. She didn't put everything on front street for my kids till they were old enough to understand it. There was no hating me about it. And when I had to leave, it took a minute. My youngest was upset with her, but she was trying to tell him that if we let him stay, he will die. And my son found me one night and he thought I was dead. My wife had me read the text, or no, dad's dead. He is, and it's nothing's working and he won't. And then I just fucking snapped out. But he knew, and they both know that. And they are strong, because if I'm getting fucked up, dude, they will, no, you're not coming here. No, we're not going to be around you. No, they stand on those boundaries, and I love them for that, man.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep, keeps you honest.
It does. It keeps me honest.
Well, keep doing what you're doing, Steve, because it's definitely working for you, man.
It is, my brother. It is. You be safe.
Yep.
You do. I love what you're doing, man. Let me know when this podcast will come on, bro.
It'll be out in December.
December? Right on, right on.
Yeah, okay, I'm releasing a new episode every single day from Thanksgiving Eve to New Year's Day to raise awareness around relapsing during the holidays.
Oh, dude, yeah. Yeah. It's a real deal, man. There's certain things that you get into that habit. You're fucked up for certain things. Christmas Eve was always, my mom and stepdad always had big parties, alcohol fueled. You go out in the garage, you'll find the crack and the coke. Not from them. They were alcohol, strictly alcohol.
That's what
and anything else was, and that always got me too, man. Now that I've been down that road and I've seen both, alcohol's way more dangerous than any marijuana thought of being. But where I live, weed's not legal.
Oh, that sucks.
It does, but we have states that are legal that border us. So the people I know here, we've got 4 to 5 strains to choose from. And brother, it's cheaper here than it is out of the dispensaries. I don't understand it, but because this is all backdoor stuff, so they don't have to get that price and everything. So, if it saved me a few bucks, you can keep it illegal.
Yep.
In Wichita, Kansas, they decriminalize, so you just get a ticket if they find you with anything under an ounce.
Good. That's the way it should be. I mean, weed's the least dangerous out of all the drugs out there.
All of them.
And alcohol is the most dangerous, in my opinion, because it's on all the ads. It's all over social media. It's people like, think about mom and wine time. It's 5 p.m. and it's wine time for moms, and it's time to drink wine, okay? And, it's so acceptable, but yet it's benzos and alcohol are the two things that can kill you during withdrawals.
Yeah. I found that out with the seizures, man. That's when they tell me, oh yeah, you got both of the drugs that can kill you in withdrawal that you're coming off. Oh, lovely.
Well, I'm glad they didn't, Steve.
That's it, man.
All right. Have a good day, bud.
Brother, I appreciate your time. You take care, man.
You too.